Hello, and welcome to another author interview with Michael Mortenson, award-winning author and poet. Michael, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Hi, I am an author from Las Vegas. I grew up loving the heat, and I've tried out the cold. Did cold, snowy when it was at school, but I'm really happy to be where I'm at. I write science fiction haiku, so there's a little teaser for you.
Awesome. So, what inspired you to write these sci-fi haikus?
Yeah, so I started writing sci-fi haikus because there was a contest. I heard about it from a friend, and they said, "Hey, I know you like to write. You want to try it?" And I did. And I wrote one, two, and then I had written 20 of them, and I just kept going.
Wow. I don't know if I've actually heard this story. And that's
Yeah, true story. It was also a procrastination project. I was working on a book at the time,
mhm.
which didn't get finished in as short a time as the haiku did, and so they became a book, beat
Mhm.
the novel out the door.
No, that's great. What is your preferred writing method for these haikus?
I usually start with paper and pen. This book actually, this is my notebook where I jot down ideas. The pre-writing happens by hand, and then it goes into a computer where the iteration happens. I read things out loud or have the computer read them back to me. That's kind of the process. Starts with hands and ends with ears.
Wow. And do you go through lots and lots of revisions, or is it a lot more just kind of one and done with each?
Oh, there's a lot of revision. You would think it would be easy to just write 5 syllables, seven
Mm-hmm.
syllables, 5 syllables, make a sandwich and call it a haiku. But it turns out that it's actually a lot of work to choose the right words, to get them
Mm-hmm.
in the right order, and to get the punch at the end right. So,
Oh, that, that makes sense. And w- what kind of led to the? I mean, did you expect to win the award that you did, or was it like completely out of the blue?
yeah, so I submitted my manuscript pre-publication to the LDSPMA as a shot in the dark to see what would happen, and then I was pleasantly surprised to be chosen as best emerging poet that year.
Wow. And is it? Oh, this is kind of interesting because you got the award for being a poet, which, if from what I can tell, wasn't your original writing plan when you thought of yourself being an author.
Yeah, I still think of myself as a poet and author.
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell stories through the poetry, and so the poetry is really a form, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the box that you're putting the ideas into, and so I enjoy the creative constraints that come with that.
I don't know if I've written a whole lot of haikus. Like, do you just like hover over like a thesaurus sometimes, like, or like trying to find just the right amount of syllables?
I don't usually hover over thesauruses. I wanted to say thesauri. So that's not a word. Um, but I do spend a lot of time figuring out different ways of saying things. Part of the puzzle is figuring out how to make the flow happen, because in a good
Mm-hmm.
haiku, you don't really know what's going on until the very end of the haiku.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, like the last word. And so figuring out the order in which the ideas need to go, that's really important. And then figuring out a way to communicate those ideas. Sometimes, and I would say the best haiku follow the path of implying a lot of ideas. You read a couple words, but you get so much more out of it. There's something of Hemingway's 6 word story in a
Mm-hmm.
haiku.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And do you want to explain that a little bit more for those that are unfamiliar with that? The six-word story?
Yeah, yeah. So popularized by the author Hemingway back in the early 1900s. He wrote a 6 word story, which I'm going to try and quote verbatim. It was like baby shoes for sale, brand new, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
very sad. So much story communicated in those words. Um, and while I don't tend to go for the sad for most haiku, I try to go for funny or
Mm-hmm.
thought provoking. That skill of packing a lot of meaning into very few words is a really fun one to work on.
That's great. And kind of a segue into that. What have you published, and what's coming up?
Yeah. So I have two sci-fi haiku books, Epoch 1 and Epoch 2. Those are out, available in the wild online. I am working on a third book to round out the trilogy, hopefully coming to us sometime in the next year. It's coming along really well. I've written about 85% of the haiku for that book, so it's making really good progress. There are a couple other projects. I have a short story that has been accepted to a magazine that, if it comes out, that'll be cool, and I'll share about that on my social media and newsletter when that happens, but I can't really talk about it until that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple other projects, a fantasy project, a sci-fi project. We'll see where they go.
We've kind of talked a lot about your writing process, but what advice would you give to new authors or writers?
Oh, this is hard because the problem is always unique to the person and the situation.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite pieces of advice that I have received is probably, well, just to write.
Mm-hmm.
um, when I was in Brandon Sanderson's class back at school, he was very good to call me out on, like, this is not working. And I feel like it would have been really easy to get shut down by that feedback. But writing through the feedback and finding the gold on the other side of the storm cloud or the rainbow,
Mm-hmm.
if we're going to mix some metaphors here, is a really good skill to develop and something I think new authors especially struggle with.
Yeah. No, I've watched his lectures online, and it's kind of funny because I almost want to jokingly say that just watching the lectures is the most useless thing that you can do, because really it's like it's great info. It'll help you better understand stories, but if you're trying to be a writer, unless you're writing while you're learning the material, it's just going to go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, I totally agree. Writing is about actually sitting down and doing it. I really like the recent, well, recent. It's now been almost a year since he gave his kind of keynote address at the convention that he does every year, where he talks about how you are the product of the writing, not the writing itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that perspective. Like, as long as you're still writing, you can call yourself a writer, and you are making forward motion.
Yeah. And what kind of helps you get into the mood of writing? What works for you?
The mood. What is the mood? I definitely find that consuming some kind of, and consuming sounds so like consumerist, experiencing some kind of art that inspires you is really powerful. Today I was listening to a Regina Spektor song that I hadn't listened to in years, and I remembered how much it impacted me the first time I heard it. And so that made me want to go out and create something. The other way to get in the mood, and I've used this for the Sci-fi Haiku twice, was I got on ChatGPT and I said, hey, I want to write a chapter intro for a collection of haiku that focus around this theme. Write me 3 paragraphs. And it spits out absolute garbage, and I read it and I say, I could do better than that.
I was kind of scared
And
of what.
that is great motivation. Yes, don't use AI to do your writing, but do use it to say, this is awful, I can do better. Very motivating.
Yeah, that's great. We should definitely never make fun of other people's writing. We should just make fun of robots writing.
Right.
That's the lesson I learned from that. But what's some of your favorite pieces of media? You mentioned that song that you listened to, but what's some of your favorite pieces of media that you've consumed in this last year?
Oh, so many good things. I just finished listening to I, Robot by Isaac Asimov.
Hmm.
This is a classic of science fiction, and I have a copy of it somewhere on my shelf here in Lithuanian. I started reading it and decided I should read it in English first before I try and tackle it in a second language. So that book was amazing. It was written now something like 70 years ago, well before even computers and transistors were popular. It felt so incredibly relevant. It was amazing how he was able to pull out so many of the things, so many of the interactions between humans and technology that we're experiencing today just by extrapolating back in the 50s.
Oh,
So
Asimov.
that was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, Asimov is he's something else. I've only recently started like dabbling in more of the you know, classics, the traditional art books that are like literally 100 years old that are like fantastic, wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I read this was kind of a strange read. I read Blood in the Mist. It's a hyphenated title. This is an early work of fantasy, it's like proto fantasy,
Hmm.
before Lord of the Rings, written back in the 20s. And it's a very strange mixture of fairy tale, folk tale influence, and political novel and mystery. It kind of doesn't know what genre it wants to be, partly because the genres hadn't really come into their
Hmm.
mature form. That was a very interesting read. I wouldn't say that it was fun all the way through, but it was such a palate cleanser and just really fascinating. Not
Hmm.
sci-fi, but
Yeah.
speculative fiction umbrella.
Hmm. It's interesting when, and that's one of the things when you get when you read some of those older things, you either find things that are like building blocks of the genre, or people that just completely did their own thing because they didn't have to follow any framework. They didn't have to follow markets. They just did their own thing.
Yeah. And I still think that is the best way to make art is to follow the thing that you want to make and make it.
Both of us have kind of experienced that with you doing sci-fi haikus and me doing choose your own adventure books. None of those are, well, neither of those are in huge market demand right now.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
You never know, but
I
it's
like to joke
mhm.
whenever something is really expensive, I go, oh, that's going to cost a lot of haiku.
Oh, that's great. Do you have some of your favorite haikus that you've written?
Sure, sure. Let me pull out. So this is from the first book. Here's the first book,
Hmm.
Sci-fi Haiku Epoch One. Um, the chapters in this book are all either thematic. So the first one is called Moonshot. So all of the haiku in that chapter are about going to the moon, or they tell a story over the course of the chapter. And those are kind of the two flavors of chapters you get here. If we're going to go for kind of the more inspirational style haiku, this one is called One Small Step. This is from the Moonshot chapter. It says, "There, beside my first footprint, I sign my full name in shiftless moon dust." There are some. There's a chapter here on it's called Hard Science, and so they're all riffing on real scientific principles that you might have learned in high school. Oh yeah. So we have three here. Here are three haiku about Newton's laws. Okay. So Law One, Newton. When continuing means casting off the one thing you can't bear to lose. Law one is inertia, I'm pretty sure. So that an object in motion stays in motion
Hmm.
unless acted upon by an unbalanced external force. Here's Law two. Law two, Newton. You can't force change, but as your life accelerates, you will be forced to. So that's force equals mass times acceleration. And then Law three, Newton. They pushed and you pushed back. For what else could you do? Physics forced your hand. So that's for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So that's very nerdy. Let me find some fun ones that are silly. So this one is called Stuck. It says, since tomorrow, I've been fixing the time machine, just like yesterday. So there you go. There's some sci-fi haiku.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, I remember thoroughly enjoying the book when I read it. And I think part of what I enjoyed is how some of them are very, I mean, technically, they're all poetic. They all are haikus. But there's some that are very kind of that like flowy kind of poetic tone. And there's other ones like that. It's just cleverly working within the structure.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think just that
There's a whole
contrast,
spectrum.
yeah, the contrast of just how every page seemed like a different one and different style, it just, no, I genuinely enjoyed the book and it was really fun.
Well, thank you. So let me show you book 2. This is book 2. You can see the cover here. The Sci-fi Haiku, Epoch 2. The back of this one I can read to you as well. It says, so first, this poem is called Earthers on the back of the book. It says, reported air leak to space ignites mass panic. Earth is going flat. So this is book 2, has dinosaurs, has a whole chapter about alien life and math and time travel and conspiracy theories. This is a fun book as well. So if you want those books, you can pick them up on Barnes & Noble online or Amazon. And if you're trying to get in contact with me, you can join you can find my newsletter. I send it out like once every 6 months right now, if we're lucky. And I also have an Instagram called the Sci-fi Haiku. So those are good ways to follow me. I also have a YouTube channel. It's still new. It's called Glass Pine Books, and I have a couple videos up there, some panels that I've done. So yeah,
I guess, yeah.
come find me if you want to read more. Let me know what you like.
Something I kind of want to ask you about, just how you briefly mentioned you've been in panels and you have this mailing list. What have you found works as an indie author? Like, as you go to conventions, as you try to get a mailing list, as you try to get a following, what's kind of worked for you and what's been like, that was probably a waste of my time?
Yeah, so it's trial and error. I think that in the spirit of you being the art, you are also the business. And so you try things and you learn, and the learning is always valuable, whether or not it's as successful as you want it to be. Things that have been helpful to learn are that email addresses that you have on your own list are much more important than, for example, a follower list on a platform. Because a platform could become obsolete, could kick you out, your account could get hacked and you lose all access to your people. But if you have an email list where you have it somewhere safe, then you can take that information and move around and always keep in touch with the people who are trying to find your work. So that has been a good business learning process for me. In the beginning, I was just social media, and I have found that social media, while it is a fun way to interact with people, wasn't really filling the cup and was taking away time from writing. And so I have eased off quite a bit of social media so that I can actually get people the product that they want. You know, people don't really care so much if I post every day. They do care that the book that they bought is a good book.
No, that's super fair. I think I was listening to a podcast recently that kind of talked about this, and just the emphasis that you need to find what works for you. And because if you're doing stuff on the business side of writing that you don't like, it's gonna just feel miserable. And there, you might not enjoy it entirely, but you can probably find something that works for you and your schedule and your writing needs.
Yeah. I've also found that it's very helpful to get plugged into your local writer community. It took me a little bit to get plugged into the Las Vegas writing community, but everyone that I've met there has been great. There are fun community events, and some of them are quite small. You might see, 40 people over the course of the 1 or 2 hours that the event is held, but they're always really fulfilling and fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I do recommend getting involved with people. Have a writing group. Get feedback. You don't want to do your business or your creation completely in a vacuum.
Yeah, definitely just getting any sort of feedback is super helpful. And is there anything else you would like to share?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think that is it. I should share something.
Buy your book.
Yeah, there's
Join.
one thing to share. It's go find the book, go try it out. Don't be afraid to break some taste. Try a
Mm-hmm.
taste breaker, and everyone that has read the book that I know of has come back and been like, "Oh yeah, there was this one haiku that got me so good, I laughed out loud." There was a great review that I read where the person was like, "At the end of the book, I was not prepared for how it was going to hit me." I was like, oh, I'm glad you felt something. So it's
That's
it's a lot of fun. Go read it.
that's always the best feedback of just when you can invoke those genuine emotions in people. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you,
And
McKay.
this has been an author interview with Michael Mortenson.